Yo, internet. Today's not about the Fusion. We're doing Fox things today. Gonna take it to Wild Horse Pass in Phoenix. I'm actually gonna drive the car there because it's all reliable. And going to Go Fast Entertainment's event tonight, the Drift and Drag. So gonna get some skids in and do a little drag racing. At least do one or two passes down the quarter mile. Kind of interested to see what this little guy does. You know, it's been coyote swap for a while. And I'm only bringing the pair tires that are on this car. They're Kenda KR20s, 265 35 18s. You know, everyone's been praising about them, so we'll see what they're all about and see if I can make it home on them as well. All right, made it to Wild Horse, sun setting, went through tech already. Now we just do the waiting game. I thought it was me. No. Right there. So, as you can see in that clip, how well that went. Luckily, this car's a welded diff, and Sean was kind enough to let me use his truck and trailer, so now I gotta go buzz that back and find a way back home from the track. It's only like 40 minutes away. Yeah. So, Wild Horse is prepped really well as far as quarter mile track, and the only other tracks I've raced or drag raced in before was in Wisconsin. They were not that sticky, but either way, lesson learned. So now I get to replace an axle in the Fox. Luckily they're a dime a dozen. I just used the 94, 98 axles, and a little bit of the rotor got scuffed from the caliper bracket. I'll be able to clean that up, so here's what it is. So after doing a quick feeler post to see if I can find some axles for the Fox, someone tagged someone, you know how that goes, and I'm on my way to go meet them. 50 bucks for an entire 94 GT axle. Can't really beat that. Sounds like it has a pinion bearing band on it, but we don't care about that. Just need some shafts. So hopefully those are okay. All right, picked up the axle. Dude is super cool. Bunch of Mustangs, and yeah, chatted for a bit. Axle looked, you know, a little grimy or whatever, but I'll show it to you once I get home, because I'm not one of those guys who wants to like film while I'm doing deals. I just don't do that. I know a lot of other YouTubers do, but it's just really weird to me. So I got about a 40-minute drive home, and then I'll show you guys what axle I'm going to use to repair the Fox. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, it's your pretty standard no, it smells like gear lube in here. Hope this thing doesn't spill everywhere, but it's probably just venting. So get this going. Yeah, it's an axle, like I'm sure all of you have seen before. So just gonna get out of here, get the car up in the air, and start getting to work. So this car has a welded diff, and I have the parking brake off. I'm gonna kind of demonstrate within gear what is going on. So it has a welded diff, meaning that thing should both be locked. You can hear it engaging the transmission. So it's obviously on this axle shaft. Pero, ugh, yeah. So I can't remember if I did in the other clips. So my only other concern is the garfing on my rotor. That rotor is a bit of a one-off. See, this is a turbo coupe rear end, so those are turbo coupe calipers, caliper brackets, the whole works. Those are, unfortunately, if you guys are savvy know that turbo Cooper ends came in 4-lug. I converted this, like the first thing I did with this car when I first bought it like 5 years ago was to convert the rear into 5-lug. So that rotor, let me get this in neutral before I forget. That rotor, I'm probably gonna need it anyway. No, I don't have to do the drive shaft bolts anyway. That rotor is actually from a 88 to 91 Lincoln Mark 7. Those particular Lincolns came with a 10.5-inch rotor. Turbo Coupe brakes are 10-inch, so bought one of those rotors and turned it down. So I'm hoping I can just clean this up really well and not have to replace the rotor. That would suck. The backside feels smooth, so yeah. The cover off, and no surprise here. Turn this, and that spider isn't moving. Well, it's held up fine. So yeah, so far so good. Just gonna have to take the brakes on. I'm gonna do, just like I said, all the axle bearings and seals and see what's going on. Probably needs a little refresh anyway. My only concern is the rotor, which I went over with. I think that'll clean up. I'm not sure where it broke yet. So the tricky part is, how am I gonna get that little stubber out of there if it's like broke off here? So really depending on where it broke off will depend on how well this is gonna go from here. But I got some ideas. If I gotta pull, I was gonna pull the other axle, maybe I can sneak it out that way. I don't know yet, we'll find out. This live, like I haven't had it out yet. Let's see where it broke. Oh dear. I guess that far. So I got the wrong seals for the axle. Whatever, I guess apparently this might not be a Thunderbird Turbo Coupe housing, but it has the brakes and gearing for it. But there's a lot of chunks, probably not be able to, yeah, there you go. Lots of chunks of axle in there, and there's even some in the center section. So my plan is to still take both axles out. The center cross pin bolt came out. That's always a real treat. It's not the first time it's had to come out in this car, probably the second or third, but so I'm gonna end up taking the center section out and just flush this thing real good and actually get a bearing puller that'll work, so I can get this thing all freshened up and get it back in the road. Being able to get the piece of broken axle out traditionally, it actually broke inside of that bearing, so I was able to just pull the diff and I can work on it on the bench. Well, bad news. Differential is broke. So the axle break in there caused that to expand and just wallop around in there and cracking the diff bearing race area there, and obviously taking out the bearing. So it's kind of a bummer. Luckily, I do have an LSD in my shed, and I'm like, oh, there's another diff in here that I won't feel too bad about welding for how cheap I got that. So no big deal. We'll just transfer, get some new bearings, and transfer my ring gear onto that diff after welding it up, and should be pretty close to the backlash and stuff. It's nothing I'm not a stranger to. Is actually have a couple videos putting gears in a 07. So yeah, the bearings actually look good until I saw that race all cracked up. So it's a little bit of a bummer, a little bit more work, but it's quite all right. This diff was doing so well for like 5 years, so that moment of silence. So I pulled my donor diff out and kind of revealed a couple things. One, this thing ran extremely low on fluid. So as a result, as I'm speculating, might be able to see the groove that is formed where the bearing rides. Shit. Luckily, the other axle, and it's on the other side of the car, is okay. So I'll use my left axle on the right and this one on the one that broke. So now I got this all cleaned up. It is an LSD. Got the center pin back in there in preparation to weld this bad boy. And then while it's cooling down, I'm gonna take the ring gear off of that, install the other wheel bearing and seal over there, and yeah, be ready to party soon. 8 little welds in there in each spider gear area. So I'm gonna let that cool a little bit and do some axle bearing things. So cleaning this housing out in the car with the catastrophic failure that I had was a real treat. Like, there's this little groove you can see in there, a little ID groove, whole bunch of debris and just axle, mostly axle shards got just caught in there, and I stuck a broom handle through there with paper towel and flushed it with about 2 cans of brake clean, and I think I got it to a point where I can reassemble. And speaking of reassembling, got the diff welded up. So, you know, this is an LSD one, so I welded the spider gears and side gears together and welded the side gears to the carrier itself. Now I left the center pin in there so that I know the gears would be aligned, but now that it's cooling, or after I welded it, I couldn't take it out by just a finger like how they usually come out. So I'm hoping after it cools, it'll slide right out. Shouldn't be a problem. All right, new bearings are on, and as it cooled, the center pin now goes, I had to, once it like sprung out, it now goes in the hole's nice and easy, so that was a little bit of a concern of mine. So yeah, now I can throw the ring gear. Carrier caps are torqued down, rotated the diff a bunch of times, feels nice and smooth. Good news there. So now I'm just gonna check backlash. I'm gonna gamble to say it's 8.5 thou. Well, in the gamble, it's also in spec, just for how many times I've set some of these rear ends up. So yeah, see this? Oh goodness, I don't know if you're gonna be able to. Oh man. There we go. Oh shit. Yeah, it's about 8.5, 9. Perfect. Alright, flash forward a little bit. Didn't want this to be like a how-to video or anything, just kind of show the carnage and everything. So everything went back together normally. The cross pin did need a little help on the final leg to line up with the cross pin bolt. But it's all one piece again. So I'm gonna clean up, get this all organized, and then get on the ground and go for a test drive. It still starts. Gonna take a gas too from Saturday. All right, test drive went well. No weird noises. My GoPro died, so they probably obviously saw that a little bit. So I did hear a little like a coasting diesel, like a whoop, 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 whoop. Kind of sounded like in the rhythm of like the pinion gear or the drive shaft speed. So I'm guessing a little debris got caught in there because there was a lot of like backflush, like channel of the housing of where diff gets thrown up by the ring gear into the pinion bearing area. So here's what it is. Still drives okay. Handbrake still works. Still gets down. So thanks for watching this disaster and me attempting to drag race a drift car, even though there's not much in the back that is like drift specific besides, well, the diff, to be honest. So all right, make sure if you want to see more Ford crap that I deal with, hit that subscribe button and like this, so algorithms and whatnot. So we'll see you next time.